Hi, I'm Grassman. Now, most of us have no idea about energy. We simply pay a bill and flip a switch. There's no impact on us except for paying that bill. I was forced to open my eyes to the reality of what power really is. See, at 18, fresh out of high school, I had a great job, making lots of money. Life was awesome. Nice car, stayed with a bunch of buddies in a really nice apartment. And, I was very naive. So things are great. And I go ahead and, just live life the best I can. Make as much money as I can. Have no idea about my surroundings. So at 20, I have a daughter on the way. It's great. So I decided to take some of this excess money that I have and invest in some apartment buildings. So I buy my first one at 20 years old. Now life is really getting exciting. I went from working in factories to now I'm a landlord at 20 years old. And now I decided at 22, I'm going to buy another apartment building. Well, now I've got 16 units and bringing in about $10,000 a month. It's much more money than I ever needed. So, very exciting times for me. Now at 25, I find myself homeless in the middle of the woods, which was a dramatic change from having everything I ever wanted and all the money I could spend. So, it was tough to realize this new reality. So I get there, my first couple days, the bugs are intense. They want to just bring you away and just have you for dinner. And then there's snakes like you would see out of a scary movie. See, when I was 20 and all these great things were happening, there was a complication during my daughter's birth. So she passed away, which emotionally destroyed me. And then because of a couple bad real estate deals, I lose everything I own except for this little piece of land out in the middle of nowhere, Montezuma, New York. Now, this place is only known for two things: a really great winery, and it's one of the largest wildlife refuges in the United States. Now, one of the things that comes with a wildlife refuge is swamps. And I didn't realize when I purchased the land that you could see the swamp from the land. So there were a lot of really intense critters that were coming over and joining me. So, it was a lifestyle I never knew, never understood. So I went ahead and, cleared a spot in the pines for my tent, start gathering wood, try not to feel too bad for myself because I knew it was my fault. I was naive, thought I knew everything, and I realized I didn't know crap. And it came out, and slapped me right in the face. And so I went ahead and grabbed all the wood I could, some stones, start a fire. Then my dogs are with me. And the problem is they live that cush life that I had, before this happened too. So I'll tell you what, they were not happy with me when they're getting bit up by these bugs and these big black snakes are slithering around us. It was intense. So you can see the depression in their faces. They're telling me every day, "Dad, where's the leather couch? Where's the hot food you share with us? Where's the TV? We want to watch something. Where's the light at night? We're not used to darkness." So, it was a tough time. And, but at the same time, it really woke me up to how vulnerable we are and how much running water means to me, warm running water means to me, and light, and being able to turn on the TV so I know what's going on around me because I love watching news. Luckily, I had a truck, so I could escape when I needed to. But the harsh reality is when I laid my head down, it was in, not in pine needles, but just above pine needles, which isn't bad if it's temporary. So I start working my land. It's a beautiful black walnut farm, and I do everything I can. So I build this little greenhouse. I love it because I can get out or not out, but into this new area that I created. It's got some warmth and gets me away from the bugs and stuff. And I love to sculpt, so I'm sculpting in there. I create these big mud pies and I turn them into these beautiful works of art. And I just have a lot of fun with it. But I know that I need power, so I get this monster generator. Because I do have a job, I have a little bit of money coming in. So I invest everything I have into this big generator. And I collect veggie oil, because I don't want to disturb the ecosystem too bad. So I collect all the veggie oil I can, and I'm running my new homestead with this generator that sounds like a freight train when you turn it on. And it didn't have a normal start button or anything like that. This is literally a generator from 1954, straight off a rail car that used to cool it for the meat that would come across the states. And this thing was intense. And things were okay. I start building a little cabin, literally had a chainsaw and a hammer and just went at it. No permits, so don't tell nobody. But ultimately I didn't finish it. And it was because at this time when I'm going to work, one day, I'm almost to work. I can almost see it. A couple more bends and I'm there. But I also see this Oldsmobile coming into my lane a split second before it gets to me. I'm doing about 50, and I have no idea what they're doing. And I'm driving a Civic. So, needless to say, they won the battle. My motor was pushed up into the dashboard. I was crushed. I can't even explain how much damage there was to me. I honestly shouldn't have survived. So, now I'm emotionally destroyed. I've lost everything I own. Now I'm physically destroyed. Now I've got surgeries. I've got physical therapy. And then I've got long-term physical therapy. Now, that's not so easy when you're cutting your own wood so that you have some warmth. And you're hand pumping your vegetable oil because you designed your own pumping system and, you're doing it the old-fashioned way. I try to be as creative as I can. And trust me, I was at that point. But the problem was when I lost my physical strength, I wasn't able to keep up with this new lifestyle, which is just horrible. It was like I was back to that first day, just destroyed once again. So I went ahead and researched what I had to do to have a more steady source of power. Not so easy, because you go out there and there's a million products. You have no idea what they do, how they're going to help you, and if it's the right product. And, I could ask anyone, where do you go to get a clean energy system? No one really has an answer unless you know a guy that knows a guy. And then you have to hope that they're being trustworthy. So I went ahead and got a battery system to store some of that energy coming out of the big generator so that, when it was time to go to sleep, I could actually sleep because it doesn't sound like there's a freight train outside my window. So the batteries were good. They helped me out quite a bit. They'd go a day or two without a charge. And then I went ahead and got a inverter system, charge controllers, and all these different components to take that battery energy to turn it into usable power when you're trying to turn something on. But no one told me the difference between modified sine wave and true sine wave. So I had no idea that when I turned this thing on, it would fry my fridge or anything else it was doing. So I wasted all this time, all this money, and not when I had a lot of money. I mean, these things did not come fast. It took years just to be able to buy one component. Because guess what? When I was in that accident, I lost my job. I was on unemployment. I had no income except for a little bit of unemployment, which meant I had to scrape everything I could up, and I couldn't sculpt anymore because I used to sell my sculptures too. So then I buy a wind turbine. It's just a meager one, but it was supposed to get the job done. So I'm watching this thing all the time because now, I mean, my well-being depends on this thing to provide me this power that I need so often. And I'm watching and I'm so frustrated because I'm seeing it track into the wind different directions all the time. But the blades aren't spinning. And I'm like, how is it that the wind has enough energy to go ahead and turn this entire machine? There's no bearing at the base of it. You're literally metal on metal turning this machine. So it would always be tracking. I've watched it do multiple 360s, and I'm like, how the hell did it even do that? It doesn't even make sense. But the blades wouldn't move, and then I'm even more frustrated because that's my power source. I just want it to work, and that's it. And I didn't understand what I was getting into. I had solar, but solar, I mean, it could barely turn on a couple lights. Nothing against solar, but it needs to be higher power density. So I literally start waking up from these visions. And I don't understand these visions. But what I'm finding is there's some sort of answer planted in my head. And I start applying them. Oh, and by the way, while I'm living in the woods, destroyed physically, mentally, and financially, I decided to go to college. Not a good college. Well, it's a good college, but it's a community college. I'm living in the woods. No one even knows I live there. And I'm driving myself to college. So I go ahead and, I pray to God every day I have running water so that I'm not, shunned when I get to school. But there were a couple times it was pretty rough, like on my birthday one day when I love taking my truck mudding, and it's springtime, and there's this beautiful field, and I take my truck into the field, and I get out to unlock the lockers for the four-wheel drive, and I realize they had just sprayed manure. And I'll tell you what, I didn't have running water that day. So math class was very embarrassing for me. And, but at the same time, I'm getting all these visions. I'm developing this new technology, not really understanding it. So this is one of our test units that I put up, and it was good, but it still had the flaws that every other vertical axis wind turbine has. Half of it's drag. So you have to get past that, and to get past that, what this is a cutaway look-down view of the new diffuser system that I developed through these visions that take the core turbine, which is in the center. The pieces that you see here are stationary. So the gray area is completely stationary. And what it does is directs the wind into the turbine. And all the black areas are vacuum. So what they're doing is creating this vortex within the turbine. So you hardly see the turbine, and what it's doing is capturing this large volume of air and compressing it into the turbine exactly where it needs to be. And then creating a vortex on what would be the drag side of the turbine and creating energy in wind speeds that we never knew were even possible. We actually have turbines that will spin when the anemometers are not spinning, which doesn't make sense because there's no wind. You can't record it. This was one of my first test units that, it was more of an art project. It was supposed to look like a flower, and it was beautiful, and it did the job, got my point across, and then this was the second version. We had to do clear diffusers, so the The entire outer area that's clear, that's stationary. And the reason we did it clear is because we were doing demos and we wanted to make sure people could see it. You can't see it if it's all solid. So we found new form factors, where we could actually take this technology and utilize it. This is actually a handheld unit I designed for charging cell phones and iPads because I think it's a cruel joke that we take cell phones and different tablets and things like that and we donate them around the world in these third world nations. They do not have power. So you give these children and these adults phones that can do all these amazing things, but they can't charge them. That is extremely frustrating. So then, my actual turbine that I've been developing, I designed an exoskeleton. So what this is basically the holder of the turbine. And what happens is it protects it, but it also makes a rigid structure that you can stack. Now you can actually double your capacity very easily, or triple, or quadruple, whatever it may be. Then I took it a step further. I realized that Steve Jobs, if he had to go to every home and install every piece of the iPhone into the iPhone, when he's trying to get it out there in the market, it would never happen because it's not a feasible business plan. And these are extremely high-tech systems. So how do you take this extremely high-tech system, put it all into a box, and make it a deliverable? So what I've done is taken the best inverters, best charge controllers, best battery system, my own supercapacitor design, and then all the monitoring and controls we need, put it into a box, pre-assembled. So you have three circuit breakers you flip. When you get it, 3 simple screw-in plugs, and boom, you have power. Now, the turbine and the tower, everything is packed into the same box. That way you can ship it nice and easy. Now what happens is, you get your box, you pull your turbine out, you put on the pieces of the tower, which are fairly simple. The turbine only weighs about 50 pounds. You put it up, and then boom, you have the entire grid in a box. You have power production, delivery, storage, and monitoring, all in one package. And this is my engineer, by the way, who is an awesome dude. He calls me up the other day, so excited. He's like, I've got good news and I've got bad news. I was like, tell me the bad news. He goes, I just electrocuted myself off the turbine. I go, listen, it's not bad news unless you're suing me, and if you're suing me, you wouldn't be calling me. So there's no way there's bad news. I go, what happened? He goes, I had the fan on the turbine, and he goes, I electrocuted myself. Now, any wind turbine company in the world would be super excited to know that a fan, a household fan, half the size of the turbine, could move the blades at all. We didn't only move the blades, we produced usable power that shocked the crap out of my engineer, and it was awesome. So, it's a beautiful thing. This thing can operate anywhere. And you can run DC, AC, 50 hertz, 60 hertz. It doesn't matter, and it's fully monitored. Hook it right to the web. And the only part you see moving is the little piece inside. That means it's non-obtrusive. There's no noise. It's very safe. If anything ever happened to the system, if the blades blew apart on the turbine, it would hit itself and drop down. It wouldn't hurt anyone. Where normal turbines they can be very dangerous. Now imagine you were in New Jersey when Hurricane Sandy came through. Now you would think the safest spot for you is the local hospital. Now what happened with their local hospital is everyone was safe for a little bit, but then what they realized was the fuel to their generator system, which was on the roof, the fuel was cut off. So they literally had to hand cart up fuel to the roof to run the generator system, and that meant the lives that were inside that hospital all depended on the ant stream of people that we're taking the fuel up to the generators. You don't want to wait till it's too late to make these decisions. You need to make sure that you understand your power. You don't want to be in the woods, I promise you, and not have what you need. Because, trust me, running water, lights, TV, TV's okay, but running water and lights, I mean, you don't want to use a hole in the woods that you dug. You want to be able to wash your hands after. Please make the right choices, and don't be afraid to do the right thing. Thank you very much.